Hey everybody, Thomas Baker here with the Game Haus, here with Cody Sun, most recently the AD carry on 100 Thieves. We're going to go over his year with that organization and kind of touch on all the splits, worlds, Rift Rivals, and kind of what he's looking for in the off season. Welcome, Cody. So
Hello.
we're going to pick up right where we left off last year. This time last year, it's so hard to think that it was only a year ago. We were talking, and you were still with Immortals, and none of the off-season stuff had happened yet. You guys had just gotten back from Worlds 2017, and little did we know Immortals would not be accepted into the franchising of North American LCS. That team dissolved, and if everything went the way that I read, you were picked up by Team Liquid, and then you were actually, I remember, one of the last official announced players on a roster with 100 Thieves as their AD carry. So,
hmm
kind of walk me through what was that off season like? Because I know that you were coming off of your first year as a pro, and you were kind of going into a new season with all these roster shuffles, and the future seemed kind of unclear, but at the same time, you had a really strong performance in 2017, so I think most people were confident you'd make it on a team, but what was that whole process like for you?
so yeah, coming out of Worlds, I think no one on Immortals really expected that like we wouldn't make it into the franchise. Um, so basically, everyone was kind of surprised that our team didn't make it in. Um, so yeah, pretty much no one had to kind of um, make sure that everyone or like transfer everyone else to a different org, and so we all kind of got transferred into Team Liquid, and then some players like Anda went to FlyQuest, but most of us were in Team Liquid, and then I learned that yeah, they were gonna get double lift for their AD carry slot, so I had to find a new team, and when I was looking for or when I was looking through all my offers, I kind of thought that 100 Thieves had the best roster, and they seemed like a pretty cool org, even though I didn't know too much about them. Um, so yeah, I thought they had the best chance to win the split uh, and do the best at Worlds. So I picked 100 Thieves, and yeah.
Gotcha, yeah. So the roster that was put together, we had you and Afro in the bottom lane, Ryu mid lane, Meteos jungle, and Someday top. And then also, Prolly is the coach, with kind of Nade Shot being this CEO of the organization as a whole, and kind of partnered with the Cleveland Cavaliers and everything. So you're saying that you kind of uh, weighing your different offers, that was the roster that was put together that you felt like would have the best chance of being strong. So your first impression was overall that it was just a strong roster.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah, since I was like the last one to officially be on the team, I've been talking with them and other teams, and I just thought that, because they had Someday and Meteos, Aftermoo, and even Ryu and Probably, they've, been playing and they've been working with each other over in the ULCS, and they got really far in the Worlds. Um, I thought that this roster, was gonna give me the best chance to play the best in a LCS and try to win, try to win the split in playoffs.
Yeah. So we go into spring split with that roster. You guys had a pretty awesome first split for like a brand new organization. I don't think many people had huge expectations of any particular team. I mean, maybe Team Liquid or TSM, but 100 Thieves kind of was under the radar. Nobody really knew like how are all these players going to interact with each other. We've got a lot of different kind of flavors coming together. But you guys ended up finishing first in the regular season. You ended up beating Clutch 3-2 in the semifinals, and then ultimately lost to Team Liquid in the finals. But how did you feel personally about spring split overall with your team?
Um, yeah, I think going into spring split because we were kind of this new organization and a new team, new people. No one really knows each other except um, Prawley and Ryu, pretty much. And Ryu and Someday know each other a little bit from Korea, but pretty much, yeah, we all had no expectations. None of the analysts or other like people in the industry thought we were gonna do too well. And yeah, I think we didn't really think we would do that well either. So we're kind of just yeah, like getting to know each other, scrimming, and I think the atmosphere was really lighthearted and it's really pleasant to work with in the first split of the year. Um, so I think kind of yeah, I think Meteos brought like a really good atmosphere in the beginning, and uh, he was able to kind of lift everyone up, and I was kind of like the second guy trying to have like make the atmosphere good. So it was, I think, even though like we didn't have like the greatest scrim results in the beginning of the season, no one really like we didn't really think that we would like do that well in the regular season actually like even so yeah, it ended up just kind of falling into place, and we got some wins in the regular season and just carried over to a pretty strong finish like in the end of the split.
Yeah. So you think that like your on-stage performance didn't really match your scrim results?
Yeah, for our team, like the whole year, we're like kind of or like in the different teams, right? We're kind of known to be like not troll, but not do like the greatest in scrims. Um, but we would always somehow like be really stable in LCS and just play really well. Um, I think that kind of has to do with like uh, the veteran players on our team, and just like playing really like stable and have a really consistent play style, and that worked really well in the spring split. And I think uh, yeah, that was kind of like the best way to play the game back then.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys wrap up the year. I mean, it ends on kind of that low note of losing 3-0 to Team Liquid in the finals, which was kind of tough in Miami. But for a first split organization, I think everybody was really surprised and really pleasantly surprised at how well you guys were doing. And we went into the mid-season where you guys were, one of the only teams to not have any roster changes that I'm aware of. No major announcements. Not a whole lot was changing officially between like spring and summer. So, what kind of going off of that momentum of spring split? What were some of the main goals that you guys had for summer split, keeping everybody together and moving, trying to improve?
Yeah, because we kind of had such a unexpected first split, um, we kind of, I guess we kind of realized that, we are like pretty good and we can like compete with the best teams in NA. And like we got first or we even got first in the spring split regular season. And, Aftermoon got MVP and probably got coach of the split. And it was just like very, very good for everyone.
And you got first
Um,
team, didn't you?
yeah,
Yeah,
I ended up, or Afro and I ended up getting first NALCS
yeah,
like team or whatever. But I guess going into summer, we, or I think we were like a little too overconfident, like in the beginning of the split. Um, I guess like we didn't really see the results that we would have liked in scrims, and in LCS, I guess. So And the meta was like really weird. It was like the mage bot lane thing and
Mhm.
go funnel, and yeah, it
Yeah.
was just really really hectic. So kind of caught us off guard, and we still wanted to, or I guess we have like more expectations now from compared to Spring Split. So we kind of wanted to meet those expectations for our fans, but also for ourselves, and do really well in the Summer Split. So we ended up, I guess, making like a lot of changes throughout the whole split.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna touch on gold funneling, but so yeah, I mean, the beginning of the split seemed okay. Like, Hundred Thieves was actually in first place, or maybe tied for first place, I think, for most of summer split. Like, you guys definitely were towards the
Hmm.
top. I don't have this stuff in front of me, but you guys did go to Rift Rivals, which was kind of one of those international events that the fans really enjoy, but I imagine from like a team perspective, you don't really have a whole lot on the line other than just winning, hopefully.
Hmm.
But that was one of the first kind of like bumps in the road, at least from like a public perspective.
Hmm.
Um, the coaching staff or the organization decided to start Brandini and Levi instead of Someday and Medios, which was kind of strange because even with gold funneling and everything, you guys seem to be doing pretty well with the first, with your starters.
Hmm.
And then these two get swapped in, and you guys went 1-3, I think, at Rift Rivals against the European team. So, what was the mindset of the team going into Rift Rivals? Like, you guys knew that they were going to be swapped out, or what was going on there?
Yeah. So kind of from the outside perspective, right? It seemed really weird that we would uh, swap them out and do all that jazz, but um, from the inside, like without going into too much, we definitely had like a lot of internal struggles and issues with team dynamic and um, I guess the environment or the atmosphere of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we actually had a lot of issues playing standard, and our win rates would be like like our win rates in scrims wouldn't be that good,
Mm-hmm.
uh, like normally, but like that time especially playing standard, like our win rates would be like a lot worse, I guess, playing standards. Um, so we kind of found like our niche in go funneling, and uh, yeah, we were pretty. I think for like out of all the teams, we were probably like the best team at gold funneling,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, at that time, because not every team like play go funneling. Like TL would do it sometimes, and they were the other stronger team, but they weren't as good at go funneling as we are because like we practiced it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so and we did like a lot of variations with it where like Ryu would like, oh, we were like funnel going into Ryu as well. Eventually, we decided that he could just play Mage's bot with Meteos, and then I'll just play funnel like mid with Afro or with Ando or whatever.
Yeah.
So um yeah, so we were really good at like go funneling, and then we kind of knew, or like Raya hinted that like they're gonna nerf gold funneling and it's not gonna be in the game forever, so that they were gonna change that. So we kind of knew that we still had to play. Eventually, we still had to play standard. Um, so I guess the team was like, well, we're trying to figure out how to like play standard and do well in that part, and there was just too much disagreements with the team and um, with the atmosphere and everything. So in the end, um, I guess probably decided that it would be better to try to swap junglers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I guess him and Medios, like, yeah, they didn't get along that well. Um, So yeah, that kind of ended up happening, and that was kind of at the same time that Rift Rivals was happening. So
Right.
I think yeah, so we didn't really like we were going to swap like our junglers anyways. So using I think we couldn't even use Meteos probably for Rift Rivals because they already like traded them or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I like. That's what I got. But yeah, that's kind of the reason. And we can't really use like Anda for Rift Rivals because it's like the rules is like we have to use well like the players that were on our roster from
Okay.
like the beginning or something. So that's why we can only like use yeah like our academy players. I think that's what happened.
Okay. So yeah, eventually, I mean, you led right into it. Meteos after Rift Rivals was traded to FlyQuest for Anda, and Anda became your new starting jungler. So, what would you say are like the major differences between those two, like when incorporating them into the team? Are there major differences? Do they play pretty similarly? Or I know you mentioned that Meteos, he brings a pretty positive attitude, at least in Spring
Hmm.
Split, to the team, and I think you played with Onda in Immortals, right? So,
Yeah.
what would you say are like the major differences between them on the Rift, off the Rift, etc.?
Um. Yeah. So I really like working with both of them, and they're both like really chill dudes, and yeah, like I'm really glad that I got to play with Meteos and play with Enda, but I think in terms of play styles, they definitely play very differently. And mostly I think this is due to the fact that they come from like different eras in the game. So
Hmm.
Meteos kind of plays um, more for like the team macro and helps with that sort of stuff. And he's better in like mid to late game decision making, and I think he was one of the like core reasons why our macro was like uh so good in Spring Split as well. Not like that he was like the only reason, but yeah, I think he contributed a fair bit amount to our macro, making sure that like we didn't over aggress and make dumb decisions like chasing for kills and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And then for Andy or Anda, he's since he's more like fresh from solo queue, right? He's only been a sub for Immortals and then started for FlyQuest for a split and then played for us now. So um, he kind of has that like brings a different take on jungling in terms of like early game skirmishes where like he would fight a lot more early game because um, he'll rather like play the fight out than just like not fight at all, I guess, even if it's like a 50-50 or whatever, because he's, confident in his like skirmishing early game.
Yeah.
So we would play more like aggressive junglers early game and then try to be more aggressive because he wanted us to play more aggressive as well. So he could uh get early advantages against the other early jungler. While like Minos would rather just like outpath them and get like better vision and track the enemy jungler like really well. So it's just kind of a different playstyle, and I think um, back in spring, um, I think Minos' playstyle was like super effective for us. So I guess it kind of started to shift in the other direction, like going into Worlds,
Right.
and yeah.
Gotcha. Well, then we go through the remainder of Summer Split. You guys finished the regular season third because we had that weird, huge tie between a bunch of teams. You guys won the tiebreakers over FlyQuest and Echo Fox and made it into playoffs as like third seed.
Hmm.
You guys beat FlyQuest 3-0 in the quarterfinals, and then you had to play TL again in the semifinals, and where we lost 1-3, and
Hmm.
then went on to play TSM in that third place match in Oakland, where you lost 2-3, if I'm remembering all that right.
Yeah.
So you guys ended up finishing in fourth place, and this was kind of the last little kind of bump in the road for the roster, which is where in the semifinals, Rikara was starting instead of you,
Hmm.
which was kind of boggling a lot of people's minds because you had been, similar to that Rift Rivals, duo swap. You had been starting on the roster all year. Um, None of the fans, watching your games. You guys just won your tiebreakers. You finished third, and you just 3-0'd FlyQuest. It just seemed kind of out of the blue and uncharacteristic for this for you to be benched with Ricaro having no LCS experience, etc. So, what was the end of that split like? For the team, what was going on during that time?
Um, so kind of, or during that time, um, so I think we were like the third seed going into playoffs, and we had all like the team like internal struggles or issues, whatever, from like um, Medios or changing our jungler, like Medios leaving and then bringing in Anda. So I
Right.
think after we brought in Anda, we kind of hoped, I guess, that like, oh, we're gonna bring in someone new and hopefully he's gonna fix that's gonna fix like our team atmosphere and arguments or whatever, and we could just play well and try our best, like finishing off the split strong and then going into playoffs. And I think like the first week it kind of did help a little, but um, we kind of realized like really fast that like yeah, that bringing in Enda didn't really change much. Like we still had the same like struggles, I guess,
Yeah.
and um, we just weren't functioning as a team properly. There's just too many like people butting heads, and um, there's too many like arguments that made it really unproductive most of the time. So uh, what ended up happening was for one of the weeks leading to LCS, um, we swapped me and Rikara from Academy to LCS and then me LCS to Academy
Right.
just to kind of see, just to kind of like bring in a different like perspective and look at the team from a different lens, I guess. That's at least that's what I was told from the coaching staff. Because and I was the only one that could be swapped because obviously
Import slots.
someday, yeah,
Yeah.
someday, and then import slots, and we didn't really want to swap mid lanes because the mid laner for our academy team wasn't doing too well at the time, and Afremu obviously has like a big say on in the team, and he's like our shock like core shot caller. Um, so that's kind of like I was pretty much the only like one that could be swapped out. Um, and we were so desperate to try to like fix our problems that like we were willing to kind of like try anything, that we had.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why we swapped out for like just like in scrims and practice. And I ended up playing in one of the academy games. Um, Not sure if you remember, but yeah, I ended up playing like against I think it was Piglet in academy. And that was pretty funny because I ended up playing against him in LCS later too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and playing academy was like pretty relaxing. It was pretty
Yeah.
chill.
It'll relieve some pressure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we actually scrimmed or yeah, the atmosphere was like a lot better than the LCS, but we ended up scrimming like our LCS team too, with like me playing in academy, and yeah, it was pretty funny. But that's kind of like the reason why we did that, and that sort of process kept happening over the next few weeks, where like sometimes if we feel like we're stagnant on the LCS team, we would just swap our AD carries and then see if that would fix anything. Yeah.
Right. So all that being said, um, what was morale like for the team going into Worlds? Because it seems like what you're mentioning the internal issues. You guys finished fourth instead of second. You had
Yeah.
finished second in spring, fourth in summer. You kind of qualified through points, like because TL won. It wasn't really your
Yeah.
destiny wasn't really in your hands.
Thanks to
and
TL.
and then all the fans. I don't know how much social media you guys are absorbing, but the fans
Mm.
from the outside are kind of upset about several different things. So what was it like for the team knowing you're going to Worlds on one hand, that you've accomplished that goal in your first year, but on the other hand, having all this storm of issues that how is that balancing out for you guys going to Korea?
Um, well, going into Korea, I think no one really was too happy on our team, except maybe, yeah, I don't know, just no one was too happy in our team. So, me especially, because I didn't really like care too much that we went to Worlds, since I already went to Worlds like last year, and so um, it was like, I guess it wasn't too new for me, even though I've only been to Worlds once. But everyone everyone else really wanted to go to Worlds this year, and so did I. Um, but like our team mood was like very down, mostly because like we lost to TSM,
Yeah.
and it kind of felt very undeserving from us that like we were going to Worlds by points, which I actually went to Worlds last year by points as well.
Yeah.
Um, but in the end, even though we, even if it is undeserving for us, it's still like it's still our right to be there, and we have to like do our best, because like we got the chance to go to Worlds, so we still have to give it our all, even
Absolutely.
even having all those like issues. So um yeah, I really like Korea just from like solo queue, so I was pretty eager to go to Korea, and right as we were on like the shuttle going back to our hotel after the TSM match, like yeah, I was really upset with like our loss, and everyone was, and I kind of learned that Reckless and Caps were going to Korea already, just like because their match was like over or something,
Hmm.
or maybe it was after, but I pretty much learned that they were like going to Korea like early before the team to try to practice and try to play solo queue. So I really want to do that, and I was really excited to do that. So I think, and then I asked like our team, and we ended up going to Korea a few days earlier to play solo queue. And the boot camp was like really rough, and I think every boot camp for like NA teams like during an international event is usually really rough, mostly because the Korean and Chinese teams are just like so much better most of the time, right? So
Yeah.
that didn't really like help too much with our team issues. Um, so we were still like splitting time in the Korean boot camp,
Hmm.
Rakara and I. But I guess our coaching staff um, thought it would give our team the best chance to win if Ricard played in the first game of Worlds against Fnatic. Um, so Ricard kind of played the rest like of the Worlds practice games, and yeah, that was that.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you guys were drawn into Group D with Fnatic, Invictus, G-Rex. Um, so you're saying that basically you guys were splitting time in scrims leading up to the first games, and then they decided to start Ricard in the first game, and essentially once that decision was made, it was just from there. It wasn't really as much of a decision. Like, were you guys still splitting scrims, or was it just all in at that point?
Yeah, I think like at that point, like I was still told like day by day like if I was gonna like play scrims, but it was mostly yeah, like towards the end, it felt like the coaching staff was like very committed in playing Repcar, which yeah, like I can respect their decision.
Yeah. So, what was that like then? Like going all the way to Worlds, most of the team's success throughout the whole year, I felt like, was with you starting. And then, kind of just at the tail end here, I think Rakara started all but maybe one of your last, dozen or so games for the year. So, what's it
Hmm.
like going to an international event as this, as I guess a substitute,
Hmm.
but not necessarily getting to play any of those games when you guys, I think you went 2-4, right? You won your G-Rex games, lost your Fnatic IG games. What's going through your head during that whole time?
Um, I think during during the boot camp of Worlds, like before we went to Busan, I think to play, we were in Seoul, and then we're kind of just in the same like place where all the teams are scrimming and practicing for the boot camp. Um, but I was kind of dealing with like being swapped out over and over, like in the summer split as well, or in like the summer split as well. So I've never really like done anything like that. I've never really been a sub for my whole career, even though it's not that long.
Right.
But I've always started in Challenger and Immortals. So dealing with all that, it was pretty hard on me, like mentally. It was pretty stressful. Also because like it wasn't like, you know, um, for performance. It was mostly because of like not seeing eye to eye with uh, the coaching staff most of the time. Um, so yeah, I was dealing with all that like emotions and everything, and wanting to play but not being able to. Uh, and that kind of, I was able to kind of see past all of that going into Busan, and um, like being told that I'll probably not play at Worlds for the first game at least. Um, and I kind of already knew, like, even though they didn't specify that I wasn't gonna play for the second game or third game. I kind of already like uh, felt that I probably wasn't going to play at Worlds, and yeah, so I felt like for me, I've been dealing with that sort of, or I've been having that sort of emotional toll on me since uh, before playoffs.
Hmm.
So I've kind of was able to deal with that a lot better um, at Worlds when, I kind of knew that I wasn't going to play. And yeah, instead of um, like feeling resentful or, not liking the decision and just like being very emotional about it, I kind of was able to see past that and be like, yeah, if like the coaches think that we have the best chance to win with Rakara, then that's their decision, and I just have to try my best in my own way and try to play, try to practice as well as I can in solo queue, like during that state, and watch the scrims and get as much as I can out of the experience. So
Yeah.
um, and yeah, like it didn't really surprise me that like that's what happened because of like the whole year. So um, yeah, I was just accepting everything, and even now, I think just from like the whole experience, even though it was pretty like it was a struggle for me, like just to be honest, because I was in the middle, I was in like the middle of everything. Um, so it was very hard on me, but I did come away with some very important like life lessons and kind of like being able to deal with, you know, everything that happened. Um, so it's kind of just being like accepting of other people's decisions, even if um, you don't agree with them, and understanding like from their perspective what uh, they're going through, because yeah, like the whole team was under a lot of stress, especially our coaching staff. Um, so I think just they kind of stuck to their guns, I guess, and um, just went with like whatever they thought was the like best case scenario for the team, right? So
Right.
yeah,
Wow.
I think yeah.
So how would you, like, all that being said, so we're back. You're
Mhm.
you're obviously not in Korea now. Um, how would you rate your year overall, like taking all that in, all the highs, all the lows, from Miami to Oakland to where was Rift Rivals? Berlin to Korea. How would you
Mhm.
rate your year overall with 100 Thieves?
Um, well, yeah, this year has been like pretty interesting to say the least, but honestly, it wasn't that bad of a year. Um, Mostly because of the things I was able to learn about like perspectives and myself and like other people. It was yeah, definitely a very like intense year for me, like emotionally and physically. Um, but honestly, everyone put so much time and effort on the team to achieve the results that we ended up getting. I myself included. So I don't think it was like a bad year at all. Um, it was just a very um, it was just a very like difficult year, I think, for everyone. Um, but it was it was a pretty like it was a pretty long year last year, and this year's no different. So yeah, it's 2 years now, and it's been yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
sounds like it.
So,
So, last but not least, we are in the off season now. It's we've
mhm.
already had a few announcements with coaches. There's all these rumors out about LCK and etc. What are your personal goals for the off season? Do you have anything in mind? Anything you're really hoping for, or just anything at all for off season?
um, yeah, in the off season, or this off season, I guess, is not very different from last year's off season, where I'm kind of just uh, looking for the right team to join.
Mhm.
And for me, since the beginning of my career, uh, I'm always focused on like improving myself, the most as I can and play the best as I can uh, in the regular season and playoffs, and try to finally win, a split, whether it's spring or summer. So yeah, like I've been pretty close. Uh, I've been to finals 2 times, and yeah, the last playoffs I didn't really get to participate at the end, but
Right.
um, yeah. So I'm still hoping to find the best team that I can and find uh, the best support that I can to make, the best bot lane and try to win a split and do well at Worlds now that, NA did super well this year
Yeah.
thanks to Cloud9. So,
Awesome. Well, I certainly wish you the best of luck. I think you're an excellent player. Again, like I can already tell that you've grown a lot since last year, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's going to work out for you. But that's going to be it for us today. I appreciate your
thank you.
interview, Cody Sun. I appreciate your time, and good luck in the off season. Hope you get a break, and maybe we'll talk to you again.
Yeah, sure. All right. Thanks. Thank you for the interview, Thomas.
If you liked that, hit the subscribe button for more interviews and other great sports and esports content. Make sure to also like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter to stay up to date on all the news from your favorite sports and esports players and teams. From our house to yours.